Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. Welcome aboard. Welcome. Whoa, Michael Rodnan. What a choice you're giving me today, my friend. We'll get to those. AVQ is in the house from Brooklyn, New York. How you doing, my brother? Great to see you here. Likewise, we have El Senor Patrick Meow from Houston, Texas, and Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. And Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Welcome aboard. Marge KJ. How you doing, Marge, Marnie, and Lodi West? Welcome aboard. We're going to have a great show for you today. You know, man, I'm still kind of getting all the videos set up. Actually, I think I got 3 videos for you today, but it's not all queued up yet. So as I speak to you, as I welcome you, I am queuing up videos, but I'm first kind of getting rid of some of these assets from early morning, but we are going to be just on time as soon as I connect the right channels for all these videos that we are going to do for you right now. Anyway, how was your weekend? I had a busy weekend. Unfortunately, I can't say that it was the best weekend with respect to getting in for with all the kinds of news that we had. But you know what? It was good enough. Let's see, which one do I have here? Is that Schumer? I think I've got Schumer in there already. Now I get these 2 going. And when I get these 2, I just need to connect them to the channels. And then we'll be ready to go. Anyway, what's Eric Hayes in the house from Kingwood, Atascocita. Likewise in the house is Lead Bearcat from Austin, Texas. I trust everybody had a great weekend. I'm connecting the channels, folks. I'm connecting the channels. I'm a bit late here. Para ver, todo esto está conectado bien. Menos que este no está. Ahora lo tengo. Creo que todo está bien. Everything is working fine, I believe. Anyway, welcome aboard, Richard Cawthorn, Pauline Barraza. Welcome aboard. Marnie says, Marnie girl from Charleston, South Carolina. Did I make a mistake again, Marnie? Early in the morning or something? I noticed you specified girl. I better remember. I know. And Don is saying, good afternoon from Southern Maryland. Hey, your governor, Wes Moore, was on CBS on a town hall. And man, I have, let me see if I still have it. I want to read what well, I want to get more people here before I start reading. I guess Substack is messing with the algorithm again. We went from 900 folks down to just a few to start, but I'm sure more will come as we go. They probably made a mistake and started some of the people from the big guys, the way they gave people choices, right? Let me tell you how a lot of these algorithms work, right? And it always hurt the little guy. It always hurt the little guy because we got a big surge a week ago, and this is my hunch. I don't know. Substack, you can tell me if I'm correct or not. A lot of the smaller broadcasters, right, started to get a lot of traffic. And that traffic started to, I could come on and for a whole week, we got a lot of traffic. That traffic had to come from somewhere. What it probably means is that some of the algorithm was probably initially favoring the big guys, right? So you got pushed to the bottom. But when you opened it up on an equal basis, where people have different choices to make, They can say, ah, I don't like what you're talking about today, or I find this other subject more interesting. And it elevates everybody on a more even field. And I imagine it likely touched some of the bigger players. I'd like to warn all our people who run these platforms of something very important. A lot of the big folks that are coming over here, and this is not malintent or anything like that, but a lot of the big guys, that were journalists at ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, that are migrated here to Substack. When they came here, they ate up a whole lot of real estate, if you will, because they were known, and having been known, a lot of people immediately gravitated towards them. And that, I understand that. But I'd like everybody to remember that this is a small community of independent media that grew up together. The Marlon Weems, the Arturo Dominguez, the Melissa Ogden, the Gen XY, the man, my mind is going frying on me. But all these other people that have joined this network that's been here for a while. I think it's important. And by the way, let me just say this also. I think that the listeners, the people who are watching us, also likely bear the responsibility for not succumbing to what we as a country has always succumbed to, right? And that is going to the rich big guy as the ones that we give the most respect to. You know, we have a small core group that continuously support independent media, and those of us that are out there, doing really working at it, really not just putting our heart and soul into it, because that's not enough. If one is just putting their heart and soul into something, but they're not really giving you analysis, or I don't want anybody to watch politics done right if they're not getting an alternative voice, a different voice, or a more inclusive voice here. Because I feel that is what you get from the mainstream media. I feel, in fact, that is what you get from a lot who have migrated from the mainstream media. I honestly think that's a lot of what you get. But if you are here for a different thing, I think it's a good thing. And when they opened it up to give people a choice, people chose, right? So, anyhow, word to all the people who run these platforms, from YouTube to Facebook to Substack to Twitter and all these other folks. Make it a real democracy, and not bring this capitalist structure here that simply does what capitalism does, and that is throw everything towards those who have capital. All right, let's get busy. Le- Whoa, something just happened, and I don't know what it is. Wow. Get my phone just started going with my Spotify. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, welcome aboard, Julianne. Welcome aboard, B. Warren. Wendy Boussier, B. Warren. Okay, here's what I'm going to start with today. What's wrong with the Democratic Party? And this I don't have on the intro, but I spoke about to Don that yesterday I listened to Governor Westmore, and I can't play what Westmore said because anytime I use anything, any cuts from CBS, they actually call it, they don't use it as fair use. That's a copyright thing. So I don't even try. If I get a clip of 60 Minutes or a clip of anything CBS, YouTube ultimately hit it. So I'm not going to mess with that. But here's what I'm going to read. I'm going to read what he had to say, because what he had to say about the Democratic Party is so very true. And it goes like this. He said, a person got up and said, who's the leader of the Democratic Party and what needs to be done within the Democratic Party? And this is what Westmore said. I think that there's something that we have to make sure that we do better, and that's actually meet people where they are and move with a sense of urgency. The Democrats have got to stop being a party of no and slow and start being the party of yes. When I heard him talk about this stuff, it was like he didn't even write this stuff down. This was right off the top of his head, okay? And he said, and now that everything cannot be they need to know that everything cannot be a 10-year study. Everything cannot be a 15-year analysis, right? If I'm telling you that I feel like the school that my child is attending is not preparing them for the world, I don't want to hear you tell me, well, let me just make sure that I put a commission together to analyze that. If I'm telling you that, you know what, I feel like housing prices are just going out of control, I don't want you to tell me, so let me figure out how we can do an analysis. A 10-year analysis about how we can build more housing. No, what I need you to do is build more housing now. And that's why, if you look at the legislation that we've gotten done there in Maryland and how we pushed in Maryland, I am probably one of the most aggressive housing governors in this country where we actually just introduced legislation saying, I want to take a look at all available state land. It just so happens in Maryland happens to be the largest landowner in the state of Maryland. So I say, listen, I understand that we can't build everywhere, but the places where we can build, we should. That we need more affordable housing inside our state. And I don't need a 12-year study to figure that out. And the thing that gets me really about the city is, do you know, ironically, who gets that? Donald Trump, because he does not waste time. Donald Trump did not need an analysis to decide that he was going to rip away food assistance for the people of our state. Donald Trump did not need a 5-year study to determine that he was going to deploy federal agents inside of our communities and neighborhoods with no accountability. So while I can talk all day long about the cruelty and the things that I object to that we are seeing from the Trump Vance administration, I do want to be clear. We would be foolish not to understand the speed, because that is the thing the people are just asking for. Do you see me? Do you understand what I'm going through? Do you understand what my family has been dealing with? And if your answer to that is, I do, and that's why I'm going to do a 5-year commission, and I'm going to look back at you, and then I'm going to look back at you and say, then you do not understand. I have never seen a more concise answer in a civil manner as to what's wrong with the Democratic Party. And let me explain a little further something that he didn't say. When the Democratic Party establishment tells you we're going to do a 5-month study or we're going to do a 12-month study or any one of these studies, let me tell you what it really means. It really means we are going to pass the solutions next to every sponsor, every donor to our neoliberal agenda. That is the establishment Democratic Party. And that's what you hear Bernie Sanders. That's what you hear AOC. That's what you hear Maxwell, the young congressman from Florida. That's what you hear Ilhan Omar. That's what you hear Ayanna Presley. That's what you hear the young representative out of Michigan. They know they are that. Yes, exactly. Maxwell Frost. Thank you very much, March KJ. That is what they're saying. We need to get on the board and move on. I heard this a few minutes ago on MS Now, where Ter said, well, one of the reasons we have all these older Democrats running is that they are scared of the younger Democrats because all of them seem to support democratic socialism. all of them seem to support all these crazy ideas because Medicare for all is a crazy idea, because health care for children is a crazy idea, because giving people vacation, a 4-week vacation, is a crazy idea. It's also a crazy idea to give basic income to those who the private sector is refusing to pay appropriately. It's a crazy idea to somehow not allow billions to go to billionaires that didn't earn it, but not tax them to ensure that we have family leave. Crazy idea. It's a crazy idea to subsidize childcare so that people can go to those employers who don't pay them enough to pay for childcare, health care, well care, and all these other. It's a crazy idea. Even when you have Katie Tur at MS Now thinking that democratic socialism that it's all it preaches are these types of policies that make the happiest countries in the world, as in Sweden, Norway, Denmark. You see what I'm saying, guys? We have allowed them to redefine these ideas as as crazy ideas, so that one of the biggest backstops to these ideas is the Democratic Party proper. Crazy. Marnie says most of the establishment Dems are so out of touch with us normal progressive Dems. Exactly, Marnie. Exactly. She also said, yeah, so crazy that almost every other civilized country, if most not all, do these things. Exactly. Carol Pettyjohn, welcome aboard. So Jeremy Shell, welcome. B. Warren says they should already have the info. Yeah. It is pathetic what we see. So when you hear her say that, I sat down and I'm like, my God. Now we have MS Now making a statement like that. It is sad. All right. Anyhow, I've got a few videos here. The first one that I want to play for you is the one that I played this morning with Chuck Schumer. The other two I didn't, but this morning I played one with Chuck Schumer, and I want folks to listen to this one again, because for those who are listen to it this time, Chuck Schumer shows exactly why, even with a winning hand, why often Democrats lose. Let me play that for you, and then we'll take it on the other side. You know, today I found it extremely distressing that Chuck Schumer, the head of the Senate for the Democrats, decided to use statements like, with regards to the government or what they're requesting of ICE, meaning no masks, body cameras, humane treatment of people, not breaking into people's. You know, today I found it extremely distressing that Chuck Schumer, the head of the Senate for the Democrats, decided to use statements like, with regards to the government or what they're requesting of ICE, meaning no masks, body cameras, humane treatment of people, not breaking into people's homes. Do you know that Chuck Schumer called that "we propose"? Do you understand why Democrats pretty much lose when they have a winning hand? I want you to check this out.
Democrats in that quote, I know what they want, I know what they can live with, unquote. Are you willing to accept anything less than the White House agreeing to all 10 of your demands to rein in ICE and fire Secretary Noem, or is it all or nothing?
Look, the bottom line is we have three basic objectives to rein in ICE and end the violence. First, no more of these roving patrols. You can't just go to someone's house, bash in their door without a warrant. You can't indiscriminately grab someone off the streets and arrest them. What we're proposing is that stop. We're also proposing that ICE agents can't go to certain special places, churches, schools, polling places. We're saying that they should end racial discrimination and not just pick someone up on the basis of what they look like. And we are proposing that the ICE be monitored carefully as well. The second area is accountability.
You know, right after 60 Minutes today, there was a town hall with the governor of Maryland, Westmore, and he got a question that said, what would you do differently, or what would the Democrats really need to do? Who is the leader of the Democrats? And in the narrative, Westmore said something that Chuck Schumer needs to take into account. Because Chuck Schumer should have said, we demand all those things, not we propose. It is we demand. Westmore came out and Westmore said, you know, the problems with Democrats is they know the problems. You tell them what the problems are, and you know what they do? They say, yes, we get it. We're listening to you. We hear you. We're going to establish a study to see what's happening there. Oh, yes, we know we have a healthcare problem. We'll establish a study to see how. And what he said was so apropos. He said, we have to just start doing. And then Westmore said something that's going to hurt a lot of progressives and establishment Democrats alike, and to some extent independents. He said, you know who knows that what you have to do is act quickly, not irresponsibly, but act quickly? Donald Trump. He goes ahead, whether he's following the law or not, he goes ahead and does what he wants to do. And people kind of admire, even if you're not accomplishing that what is right, that you do something. So Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, the problem now is that Republicans think that they'll cave, they won't stand up for all the things that they want, which is what people are wanting folks to do now, stand up. So no, Chuck Schumer, it's not about asking, it's not about proposing, it's about demanding. But I tell you, it's a bit deeper than that as well. All this weekend, we should have Democrats and progressive campaigning and all over the country, not just the state, but over the country, pointing out that Americans are being killed by ICE. Americans are being roughed up by ICE. Americans are being brutalized by ICE. We have so much video, we have so much data to show visually, so much data for to present or verbally. We have so much audio, video, everything to show that these guys are terrorizing our country, that it's affecting business. The We should be out there pointing out that what ICE is doing is affecting businesses, whether businesses are Republican or Democratic. What ICE is doing right now is affecting the farmers in the field, whether Democrat or Republican. We should have a campaign that shows ICE's disruption is not only disrupting the lives of those brown people, it's not only disrupting the lives of those black people, it is also disrupting the lives of the farmers who can't get their crops. It's also disrupting the lives of businesses that have to remain closed, businesses that are losing business from the millions of even undocumented workers that are scared to go out there and shop, and that has an economic value. Come on, Democrats, wake up. Where are you? We should be out there screaming what this thing has done. Viva Minnesota! Viva Minneapolis! They showed how it is done and they got results. This is what the establishment need to do. Listen to what the progressives have done in Minnesota and propagate that throughout the country. Absolutely so. Absolutely so. I could not concur any further than that. Anyway, folks, let's see what Mr. Rudnin had for me today. Are you around, Mr. Rudnin? What do you suggest that I go with? Let me take a look at some of your failing economy. Looks like one. that let's see, Berta Mona's busy as how many to choose from? Trump's tariffs. Let's do tariffs and the economy, and then we'll move on to the other subjects. Let's go ahead and do that. And I trust it has no music. Let's go ahead and put that on for El Señor Ratin. You know, I like to play some of the stuff that our brother brings us. Here we go.
Thing Donald Trump says is a complete lie, and everything he touches turns to shit. But the most hilarious example is that he and his followers have been screaming America first from the rooftops, yet they're putting America last. We saw a little bit of this during his first term, but his second term is putting it on steroids. With him issuing tariffs to nearly everyone across the globe, and him ostracizing his own former trade partners, countries around the globe are now issuing new trade agreements with each other and leaving us in the dust. Trump is very fickle when it comes to dealing with his allies and his trade partners, and as a result, under this president, the United States has become very unreliable. And in order to reduce the economic exposure to U.S. policy volatility, these governments are now issuing trade agreements with each other and leaving us out. One of our biggest trade deficits recently that has gone up is with the EU. So instead of dealing with Trump, the EU has now signed separate free trade agreements with other countries, which is eliminating 90% of bilateral tariffs. And the most hilarious part, in my opinion, is that Donald Trump and his followers love to complain about China. China's bad, China, China, China. His shitty trade policies and his tariffs are directly benefiting China, because China is now picking up our slack and absorbing the trade agreements that we would normally be having. All because Donald Trump is a crybaby toddler who is a shitty businessman who bankrupted every fucking business he ever had. So much like all of his other lies, his claim about putting America first is ironically putting America dead fucking last.
Well, that is something that we all knew, right? I mean, during this first administration, when we spoke about tariffs and what it actually did, we spoke about that. Hey, Bruce! Bruce says, or Rachel drives to work appointments with her trunk full of diapers and food for her OT clients in St. Paul. Please tell my girl, Rachel, how proud her old her old uncle here in Kingwood is of her being a part of the movement and helping people. I love that. You tell her, man. You know, Bruce, that's what good parenting does for our kids. Both you and Susan, Bruce and Susan, very well put together kids. Thank you, buddy. All right, let's go to the other. This one here from Donald Trump's economy. Let's go ahead and play that one again from our brother El Señor Radnin.
Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday, Valentine's Day 2026. A couple of weeks ago, I was asked what I'm going to be watching to know when the economy is really turning south. And for me, the tipping point will come in the form of bankruptcies, defaults, and delinquencies. So I wanted to share two delinquency metrics that are flashing red. One pertains to consumers and the other pertains to businesses. The first is serious credit card delinquencies, which are delinquencies that are 90 days or more past due. This means that 3 or more consecutive monthly payments have been missed. As you can see on this chart, this delinquency metric surged at the end of 2025 and now stands at 12.7%. And this is the highest level of serious delinquency since Q1 of 2011. And this is significant because that was during the recovery following the Great Recession. But what is most alarming about this trend is the rate at which it has surged to end 2025. The second metric is multifamily mortgage delinquencies, and these are specialized loans for residential properties that have more than one unit. And as you can see from this chart of Freddie Mac's serious delinquencies, this metric has now surged past the highs of the global financial crisis. In my 2 cents is the fact that these metrics are both surging at the same time tells us that not only are households facing financial stress, but so are commercial real estate companies. And if these metrics keep surging, not only will the economy take the hit, but so will banks. If you like my content, please like, share, and follow, especially on other platforms, and let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Wow, that was solid. Let me just add something to what she said there, right? Because empirically, I don't have the exact numbers of showing it, but empirically, what you see, if you go to the stores now, you see a lot of people. Well, look, a lot of people buying groceries on credit. And if you see a lot of people buying groceries on credit, and also the delinquency is going up, that's a dangerous spot to be in, because at that point when you're buying your groceries on credit and not paying, and you're also delinquent, eventually you reach that point where you've maxed credit, and at the same time you don't have with what to get groceries. That's a dangerous spot to be in. That is a very dangerous spot to be in. Let's see the other one that I want to talk about, which from the voter fraud myth. I think is one, especially. I tell you what, I'll play the voter fraud myth after I play Eddie Glaude's piece about what we are looking at. Let's. I think this is the right one here. Let's get busy with that video, and then we'll come right back. Eddie Glaude is given an important warning that I think we need to heed. Let me go ahead and play it, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
But Eddie, another thing that's top of mind for Democrats heading into November is the president's push to, quote, there will be voter ID for the midterm elections, whether approved by Congress or not. I mean, that's actually speaking to Maya's point right there. How does the party navigate that? Can Trump go over states which run our elections?
Well, I think the Democratic Party has to be prepared for anything. Donald Trump has proven over and over again, and it's not just Donald Trump, it's the folk around him, the folk underneath him. They've proven over and over again that they're willing to run roughshod over democratic processes. And so I think there needs to be a war room. I think in that war room, they need to be prepared for voter suppression in all forms, the ways in which they're going to count the votes, how he's going to try to deploy. Maybe they might deploy ICE, as Steve Bannon has suggested. Any and everything that they can imagine, they need to prepare for. Because I think, given the lay of the land, Alex, they know that they cannot win the election in a straight up battle. So we have to be prepared. The Democrats in particular have to be prepared for Donald Trump and Republicans to cheat. And we need to be explicit in describing it just as that. They are preparing to steal the election. And we need to understand that for what it is.
So let me tell you, folks, the election, I don't have any fear that the technical portion of the election will be done fine. However, there are a lot of different ways that Donald Trump and his goons are going to try to muck up the election. One, they are going to use the ICE agents. That's why they're locating them in a lot of cities where they can create disruption. And by having it in cities where they can create disruptions, they expect to scare people. Of course, we know what's going to happen with several of the voter rolls when they attempt to remove people off of the voter rolls. That's why I tell everybody that 2 months before the election, they should be checking their voter registration online once a week and take a picture of the screen once a week that shows you're registered. If you're not registered, you go ahead and register. You continue to check to make sure that that you are in fact registered as a voter. 3 months before, or rather 3 days before the 30 days. In other words, at day 33 days before the election, make sure again that you're still registered. Take a screenshot if you're registered. If you're not registered, go ahead and register. But if you were registered before and notice that you were removed from the rolls, you go ahead and report it to us in the media. Report it everywhere that you can find. I want an email. Emailed all the different media organizations with the evidence that shows that these guys are trying something. Now on election day, you will have your pictures that shows that you've been registered up to 33 days before the election, show that you've been registered, etc. Look, they can try as much as they can. If we outvolume them, which is what I expect to happen, there is nothing they can do to win this election. And in fact, I believe a lot of what they're doing will make people not only upset, mad, but will empower folks to realize, hey, I really make a difference. I'm going to go vote. And let me tell you, this is wild thinking, but we could have such an onslaught that we get veto proof. Again, remember, Republicans are mad. I'm not talking about MAGA. MAGA is 33% of the population or less. Republicans are mad too. You would not imagine how cataclysmic for MAGA this election could turn out to be. Let me say something because Bruce asked a question that I want to really address in detail. And let me tell you why. Because remember, what I always say is Democrats are lousy in framing arguments, in framing the problem. And Republicans are very good at it. Let me just show you. Bruce says, why is it bad to require voter IDs? Can't we start a service like registration to transport people to get ID? Yes, we could. But here's the problem. Uh, do you know in Texas you could use a fishing license, a gun license to I don't think it's a fishing, I think it's a gun license. A gun license as a legal form of identification, but you could not use a student ID. What is the difference again? With gun license, you get a whole lot of the you know who, and with the student ID, you know who you get. What happens is there are a lot of people that will not have the form of acceptable voter IDs because even if they wanted to get some of these IDs, they don't have a birth certificate. You know, as a naturalized citizen, I had to come here with all of my paperwork, birth certificate, things where the FBI check you out in Panama and all that kind of stuff. So of course I have all of that. But do you know how many people in rural America, especially people of color, who doesn't have all that stuff? People that were birthed at home, people that, there are millions of people. One of the things that happens to us, those of us who live in the cities or those of us who live in the more popular areas in the states is that hey, we have access to all this stuff easily, but in Timbuktu these people don't, and they've made the calculations that if we if we have voter ID and the kind of IDs or the IDs that people in TikTok land in middle of red areas have gun license, but that others don't or don't have as much, that biases the election towards them. And that's what makes voter ID dangerous. The only way voter ID would be good is if every living American, like every living Panamanian that can vote, has something called a cedula. It looks just like a driver's license, but every citizen over 18 or over in Panama has to carry a cedula. And if you're in the middle of the streets or whatever and a cop stops you, they'll say su cedula por favor, and you have to give them this piece of paper just to identify who you are. Now, in the United States, people don't want to have don't require that kind of identification. And that's why you see a cop goes to, they stop you and they say, I need to see your license. People, oh, why? In Panama, that's common, right? If a police stops you or whatever, they ask you for a cedula, you show it to them, they look at it, and you're off, right? Because it applies to absolutely everybody. In a racialized country where people are profiled, that's one of the issues um, that get called in. That's a bad statement I made here because Panama, to some extent, though different, well, it's more a class-based system in Panama, I guess. But we do have colorization in Panama as well. I won't lie to you. But anyhow, so Bruce, that's the reason why, brother. Uh, I would only support voter ID if there was a plan for our government who is requesting voter ID to give everybody that registers to vote an ID. So since in every state you have to be registered to vote, then they should be responsible when you register to vote to give you a voter ID and says when you're coming in to vote, this is your ID that shows who you are. It should be the burden of the government. All right, Marnie, meaning the burden of we the people. Marnie says, I've been voting in South Carolina for 27 years, and I do have voter registration card, but never have it on me. I just have to show my driver's license. Me too. I just show my driver's license, right? But you know what? A lot of people do. A lot of the poll watchers go to poor areas and terrorize those people. My buddy, Dave Palace, Greg Palace. He told the story in Georgia where a decorated army guy was not allowed to vote. He tried to vote by mail. He's in California and they denied his vote. He had to fly back to Georgia to prove who he was because he was called out. Ridiculous. Judah says no ID after registration, only signature verification at polls. Works fine in New York State. Exactly, Judy. Bruce Pollard says that driver's license is really good. If I had a person who wanted to get registered and ID'd to the DL office after, help them get a birth certificate that's what we're going to have to do. And I think a lot of the money that the Democratic Party is getting, instead of putting it into consultants, Bruce, they should be having these big campaign in churches and lodges and bars and all these places to go ahead and have these people get their birth certificate and register to vote. But they're giving all these 10 and 15 and $20,000 per month contracts to these confounded consultants that wouldn't know a poor person if they sighed. All right, let me play another one of Brother Rudnin's video. Hey, are you still here, Rudnin? I didn't see you mentioned anything. Let me know if you're still here. I'm going to play another one of his videos. Let's go with it. Ahorita mismo lo voy a presentar. Ahí.
It's been a pretty rough year, so it makes it all the more amazing to see a Trump-appointed judge tasked with deciding if Pam Bondi's Department of Justice has permission to take voter data from states without any excuse smack down the Trump administration in a blistering opinion. It both denies every single request from the Trump administration, plainly accusing the DOJ of fishing for evidence for crimes that never took place. Now, this decision came from Judge Hala Jarboe. She said the Trump administration's request had no basis under federal law, under the Civil Rights Act, under the National Voter Registration Act, or under the Help Americans Vote Act, or HAVA. This opinion hilariously criticizes Pam Bondi for wanting the federal judge to time travel, to imagine how lawmakers would have ruled 60 years ago if massive computerized databases of voter data had existed back then. And in a particularly sharp statement for a judge, she said there is simply no basis on the federal rules for civil procedure for the United States' suggestion that it can file a HAVA claim, allege no violations of HAVA, and obtain information to support its as yet non-existent claim via discovery. In plain talk, she's saying the DOJ is trying to do what they just did in Georgia. They took the ballots under debunked pretense so they could look for something to justify their actions after the fact. Now, this whole thing started last July, and the DOJ sent a request to dozens of states requesting voter data. And of course, a whole bunch of red states immediately complied. And across those 11 Republican states, with the personal and identifiable information of 40 million voters given directly to Pam Bondi, you know how many valid instances of fraud they found? 0. Do you know how I know? Because if they found even one, they would never shut the fuck up about it. Fact is that just like after 2020, just like in Georgia, and just like their stupid obsession with the SAVE Act, time and time again, the Trump administration keeps on fishing for a fantasy. But like Pam Bondi trying to explain why Donald Trump is in the files more often than Jesus is in the Bible, time and time again, all they find is failure. It's been a...
Let me say something, though. I want to correct you said they didn't find voter fraud. Well, there was a bet between a Lieutenant Governor Patrick in Texas, Dan Patrick, against the now senator from Pennsylvania, who was then the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. And he was supposed to find voter fraud. And there was no voter fraud found in Pennsylvania, but there was voter fraud found in Texas. And actually, there was voter fraud found in both Texas and I believe Pennsylvania. But guess what happened? The voter fraud, as it always is when they find voter fraud, one was for a Republican trying to vote twice for himself and for his dead father or something like that, and others trying to do similar things. So every time they try to find the people who cheat are generally Republicans. But you know what? We always talk about the projection that they have. You know, Donald Trump and MAGA was talking about Biden building gulags, building concentration camps. Turned out it is he who's doing that. And in fact, there is a good link here that I want to bring up from brother, uh, what's his name? Why do I forget names when I'm doing things? Hey, how you doing, Harry Denson? Welcome aboard. Paul Fleming. And I want to put Paul Fleming's piece on the screen right now because here's what Paul Fleming found for us today. He said, Georgia, Trump's DHS just bought an ICE detention warehouse for $128 million that sold for $29 million 2 years ago from a Russia based real estate company. Nothing to see here, folks. I want you guys to think about that. The real estate market is currently tanking because people are having financial problems. Okay? And what do we get? Wait, weren't these the Doge people? Weren't these the Doge people? And for what was sold for $29 million 2 years ago, Donald Trump is going to spend $128 million. And likely they have to tear out the inside to put the cages in these animals. And by the way, people, if you think these concentration camps are for these brown and black people out here, like I mentioned in an article that I wrote a few days ago, and please read that article. Please, it's a long article, but please read it. We must protect ourselves for what these people are trying to create. And what they're trying to create should only be known as the American Holocaust. I'm not kidding about that. This is a prison industrial complex that must be fed. And the meal ticket, the source of feed for these people are human beings. And yes, Patrick, that is laundering. But look, when we get into power, meaning when the Congress gets turned over, if all of this isn't examined word for word, it will be God knows what, you know. All right, let's say Mark KJ says, so the areas that people are start showing up to get driver's license, they make the hours shorter, close with stupid issues. It's happened in Atlanta and Texas. The Republican a-holes care about one thing, power. They take away everything that helps their constituents, but these effing brain dead a-holes keep voting for them. I'm so sorry about the swear words, but this has been going on since Baby Bush stole the election way back then. That is year 2000. So we're talking 26 years of this, man. Don says there's tons of evidence of election fraud by Republicans, but the state and federal courts keep giving them a pass. Reminds me of Al Bundy, when he competed in a senior citizens Olympics and won. Afterwards, he said it's only cheating if you get caught. Yeah. Oh, you remember that? Yeah. Let's see. Bruce Pollard says they opened a DLID office in Porter that isn't so busy. Yep. I didn't know about that. Okay, what else have we got here? Harry says, good afternoon to all Politics Done Right listeners and viewers in the state of Texas and around the world. Carl Cox says, here, American democracy in danger because of Trump and his stooges. Egberto got Spotify. I am on Spotify. You can actually watch and listen, not live, but in podcast form, the program on Spotify. So if you want, you can go pick it up on Spotify. What else have we got here? Okay, we got one more video. This one is a response by Obama. I mean, I agree with the professor wholehearted and completely. Listen to it now, and we'll take it on the other side. A few days ago, when I pointed out that Obama hadn't responded to the caricature that Donald Trump made of him, I was, and I also said that I don't think he would respond, and I don't think he should respond. I think Obama should have done that, not responded at all. Well, I think Eddie Glaude kind of had the same response that I had to the former president's response because it is so out of date. But I tell you what, let's go ahead and play that little segment, and then I'll talk a little bit more on the other side.
May I ask you, Eddie, quickly before we go? President Obama responded for the first time to that racist video of him and his wife posted on President Trump's account. Let's listen.
There's this sort of clown show that's happening in social media and on television. And what is true is that there doesn't seem to be any shame about this among people who used to feel like you had to have some sort of decorum and a sense of propriety and respect for the office, right? So that's been lost.
So he never mentioned Trump by name. Do you think that was intentional?
Yes, I do. And, there's an elegance in the response. But, as I watched that entire interview, Alex, I'll say this, and I know I'm going to get in trouble. It felt like a time that's long gone. That the politics, that the period, that the moment that we're in, how can I put it? It's almost like a Victorian ethos in the moment of the 1970s. They just don't mix in some ways. I think.
But is it wistful for you? It's got to be wistful. It's wistful for you, right? Thinking, if only.
No, I'm not nostalgic at all. I'm not nostalgic for that time at all. We're in the midst of a 5-alarm fire. And we can't long for what was. We're going to have to address what we're facing now, and we need to do so as aggressively as possible. Yeah. We can't fall back on decorum. We need to call these people out for what they're doing and for who they are.
See, that's why you're a professor at Princeton, no less.
Now, let me tell you, first of all, still have a lot of respect for President Obama, but I think President Obama and many of the older parts of the Democratic Party, the establishment, they have really failed to acknowledge what's currently occurring in America. I don't think they are seeing the severity of what Trump is doing, not only structurally, but what he is doing to the psyche of the American people. Earlier today on my morning program, I spoke about most people being good. And another, Patrick, another listener, regular, pointed out that he read a study that pretty much points out that reality. When they did experiments with animals, they found out that people have a certain amount of built-in empathy. But like I mentioned on the show this morning, externalities are effective if not counteracted. And by all our past presidents, the only one that I saw really give a pushback, but he was too frail to do it, was former President Carter. But you look at Obama, you look at Bush, they are quiet as this thug is not only taking over the structures of the country, the institutions of the country, but they were silent as he was changing the psyche of the country. I mean, where he allowed, by his own behavior, he allowed the unadulterated hate that people had learned to keep internalized, which was for the good, right? Because eventually, when all these things don't come out, what happens many a times is it stays, it festers, and as you know, with a lot of flames, if it festers long enough, it extinguishes itself. But if it's allowed to come back up, there you go with another fire to put out. There are times that I say what Donald Trump is good at doing is showing who we really are. And that's just a partial statement. Donald Trump has shown the kind of hate that still lives in many Americans' heart. But what he has also done is created the infrastructure to inject hate into the American people. And for that, he should never be forgiven. For that, he should never be forgiven. And the types of response that we have from Obama when Donald Trump presents that picture Yes, it was a smooth, logical, patient, passive type of response. I think he should have just been quiet. I think no matter what, he should have just been quiet and let others like myself and all those who are going to be able to point out to the president that he is nothing but a racist thug. And then behind the scene, Obama should be doing a whole lot more. Absolutely. So, I want to address something that our brother Adam W says. He says, I do not mean to create division here, but is it wrong to call out Democrats that live lives of luxury and being detached from the pain and hard realities that most, if not all, the Americans, middle and lower class, are facing? They're going to be just fine. Then he says Obama and Biden capitulated in uh, in face of much adversity. Those are late Joe Madison's words, not mine. I love Joe Madison. He was a friend of mine. In fact, when he died, I had just interviewed Joe Madison a few, I guess it was a year or so before he died. He was going through the airport in Dallas, and I called him up. I don't remember what it was that I needed to talk to him about, and I called him up and he sat down right there in the, DFW and gave me the Zoom interview right there because I can't remember what the subject was. It was important then. And Adam says they will survive no matter what. And I want to. That's where I want to go. Go. Let's see. I don't have a lot of time. Let me just say it real quickly. A lot of my friends that call into the show, they will give me hell because they want us to hold out longer than I think we can, right? And I have to remind them many times that while a whole lot of folks in Houston or these other areas, they have recourse, many of the people we are asking to sacrifice don't have it. So real progressive Democrats have to balance uh, have to balance it. The middle, the so-called centrists constantly say, wait a while, wait a while, wait a while, because we can't get all of this done. They'll be fine. You're absolutely right, Adam W. They'll be fine. They will be fine. So they can say, wait a while. But for that mother who must have that check because her job doesn't pay enough, she won't be fine. And that's the empathy that even those wealthy Democrats need to understand and know. Maybe I should do a program on on progressives and the elite progressives. There are two. Well, I shouldn't say elite progressive. The progressives and the elite Democrats. Maybe that's what I should do at some point in time because that's a good point. All right, folks, we are at the end of the program. I'd like to encourage all of you who have the wherewithal to do so to please become paid subscribers of Politics Done Right. It's easy to do that. If you are in Substack right now, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And when you hit that subscribe button, please select paid subscriber. That is the only way we survive and continue to be able to do the work that we're doing, flooding the internet, with with the progressive message. I have more than 1 million views. People from videos to audio to way over 1 million people that I'm doing my part to make sure that we are getting these things out every single, constantly. And if we don't do this, we have a lot of folks doing what I'm doing, by the way, and we all need your support. We cannot do it without you. So please, please, if you have the wherewithal, please consider becoming a subscriber. It's very inexpensive. Now, if you are full of means, consider becoming a founding subscriber of Politics Done Right. We welcome that wholeheartedly. But just become a regular uh, small paid subscriber. It's a cup of coffee. It really helps us when we do this en masse. Independent media is necessary. And please, if I'm not telling you not to support the big guys, the Acostas and all of them that came from mainstream media, but please remember they left mainstream media with golden parachutes, and some of the things that they do here is exactly what they did at mainstream media. Remember, we've been doing this. We've been pushing the story for a long time. So I ask you for our support. I remember when one of them came here, they bragged on the first day. They got 10,000 paid subscribers on day one. We've been doing this a long time. And, please, please assign worth where it really belongs, where you actually can talk to those of us that are doing this work as well. So please support us by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, or if you're in Substack, just click that subscribe button. We can't do this without you at all. We cannot do this without you. I'm putting it in both chats right now. And I want to let you all know, love you all from the depths of my heart. You can email me directly. info@politicsdoneright.com. info@politicsdoneright.com. Let me see what else I need to tell you. If you look at the scroll, you can see all the different ways in which you can support the program, which is scrolling right underneath the screen as well. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this program. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.